Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Manoj Singh Rana, and with me is R.S. Raghu, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. External Affairs Minister of India Dr. S. Jaishankar reaches Dushanbe to attend Heart of Asia conference on Tuesday. Zimbabwe, Niger and Fiji receive Made in India COVID-19 vaccines under Vaccine Maitri initiative. India and US conduct naval exercise Parsecs in Bay of Bengal. Traffic in Suez Canal resumes after stranded ship Ever Given refloated. UN Secretary General urges for decisive action to stave off debt crisis in developing world. And the festival of colour, Holi, celebrated across India with fervour and gaiety. As the number of COVID cases are on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower the guard, follow all the precautions, and all those above 45 years to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now, the news in detail. External Affairs of India Dr. S. Jaishankar has reached Dushanbe on a 3-day visit to Tajikistan. He will attend the 9th Ministerial Conference of Heart of Asia Istanbul process on Afghanistan on Tuesday. Dr. Jaishankar is also expected to meet leaders of other participating countries on the sidelines. As the lead country for trade, commerce and investment confidence building measure under Heart of Asia Istanbul process, India has made concerted efforts for strengthening regional connectivity for the greater economic integration of Afghanistan with the region. A dedicated air freight corridor between cities of India and Afghanistan and operationalization of Chabahar port in Iran are steps in that direction. India, as an important stakeholder for peace, prosperity and stability in Afghanistan, has played a constructive role in the international processes on Afghanistan. India has engaged regional and international stakeholders on Afghanistan. The visit will further enhance the outreach to Central Asian countries with a special focus on Afghanistan. During the visit, the External Affairs Minister will have discussions with his Tajik counterpart covering all aspects of the bilateral relations, as well as regional and international issues of mutual interest. He is also scheduled to call on President of Tajikistan, Emomali Rahman. He is also expected to meet other Tajik ministers and dignitaries. After arriving in Dushanbe on Monday, Dr. Jaishankar visited the Dushanbe-Chortooth Highway project site. He lauded the good work being done by the Border Roads Organization, BRO, under Indian grant assistance. The 8-lane highway will decongest Dushanbe. India and the US have conducted a 2-day naval exercise in the Bay of Bengal, reflecting the growing congruence in their defence and military partnership. The exercise began on Sunday. The Indian Navy deployed its warship Shivalik and long-range maritime patrol aircraft P-8I in the Parsecs exercise, while the US Navy was represented by the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group. In a first enhancing jointmanship, the Indian Air Force fighters have also been included in the exercise, affording the IAF an opportunity to practice air interception and air defense with the US Navy. The exercise came over a week after US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin flew into India as part of his 3-nation first overseas tour that signaled the Joe Biden administration's strong commitment to its relations with India.
Zimbabwe, Niger and Fiji receive Made in India COVID-19 vaccines under the Vaccine Maitri initiative of Government of India. Prime Minister of Fiji, Frank Bainimarama, in a tweet said, Vaccine Maitri has arrived to Fiji with 1,000 doses of life-saving COVID-19 vaccines. He thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for helping them take the giant step towards a post-pandemic future for Fiji and for the world. In another development with an aim on providing vaccines to neighborhood first, Indian Army has gifted 1 lakh doses of Made in India COVID-19 vaccine to Nepali Army. In India, over 6,500,000 beneficiaries have been administered COVID-19 vaccine till now. Health Ministry said in the last 24 hours, more than 68,000 new COVID-19 cases have been reported in the country. 8 states, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Chhattisgarh have reported high number of COVID daily new cases. Meanwhile, the recovery rate is now at 94.32%. Now let us take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world.
UK ended its stay-at-home lockdown order on Monday with people allowed to meet up outside in groups of 6 for the first time in nearly 3 months. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has pressed the states to step up efforts to curb rapidly rising coronavirus infections. The drug maker Johnson & Johnson said on Monday that it will supply up to 400 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine to the African Union from the third quarter of 2021. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said on Sunday that the country was working to pay for vaccines from the World Health Organization's COVAX mechanism, which provides vaccine access to the poor countries. Japan's vaccine minister Taro Kono said on Monday that the pace of coronavirus inoculation in the country would accelerate in May, and Philippines has imposed lockdown over Easter due to the surge in COVID-19 cases. Vaibhav Srivastav for AIR World News.
Shipping traffic through Egypt's Suez Canal resumed on Monday after a giant container ship which had been blocking the busy waterway for almost a week was refloated, the canal authority said. The 400-meter-long Ever Given became jammed diagonally across the southern section of the canal in high winds early last Tuesday, halting traffic on the shortest shipping route between Europe and Asia. Meanwhile, the maritime solutions provider in charge of technical management of the vessel said that all 25 Indian crew on board are safe and in a good health. Shipping Minister of India, Mansukh Mandavia, in a tweet on Monday said he was informed that the traffic will get normalized in the next 4 to 5 days. Terming it as a great news for the world shipping and logistic industry, Mr. Mandavia added that Indian ports are geared up to mitigate all the consequential effects. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged for decisive action to stave off debt crisis in developing world. A policy brief issued by the UN chief on Monday said that the steps taken to prevent debt crises across the world sparked by the COVID-19 crisis have not been sufficient to restore economic stability in many developing countries. A report.
According to the policy brief, 42 economies borrowing from capital markets have experienced sovereign downgrades since the start of the pandemic. Sovereign downgrades cause borrowing costs to rise, especially for developing countries, which can in turn increase the risk of more countries tipping over into unsustainable debt, especially if the COVID-19 pandemic is more protracted and deeper than expected. The policy brief highlighted the need for debt relief to create space for investments and recovery and for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The Secretary General also urged governments to provide fresh concessional financing for developing countries, especially least developed countries and small island developing states, recapitalize multilateral development banks and accelerate the timetable for replenishing the funds, meet official development assistance ODA commitments and provide long-term financing to developing countries for investment in long-term growth. Vaibhav Srivastav for AIR World News.
U.S. Trade Representative Kathleen Tai said on Monday that the United States will suspend all engagement with Myanmar under a 2013 trade and investment agreement until the return of a democratically elected government. Meanwhile, thousands of people have fled Myanmar's eastern Karen state into Thailand to escape military airstrikes. Myanmar security forces opened fire at a funeral as people across the country gathered on Sunday to mourn 114 people killed in the worst crackdown on protests since last month's military coup. Thailand's public broadcaster has confirmed that about 3,000 people have arrived in the northwestern Mae Hong Son province. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha said his government is preparing for a potential influx of refugees from Myanmar, but how many, we are not talking about that. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
Welcome back to the world news. In today's Hotspot segment, we bring you a discussion on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's recent visit to Bangladesh. The participants are Veena Sikri, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, the journalist.
PM visited Bangladesh for 2 days, and this was also the 50th year of close ties between India and Bangladesh. This also marked the centenary of the birth of Bangladesh's founding father Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the Prime Minister also participated in the Golden Jubilee celebrations of Bangladesh's independence. We have also seen that 5 MOUs have been signed during this visit, and the Prime Minister with his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina held talks, and both countries have resolved to take this bilateral relationship forward. Ambassador Sikri, when you see this visit of the Prime Minister to Dhaka, how much of an impetus has this imparted to the bilateral ties between India and Bangladesh?
It is a significant visit. In every way, it is described by the Prime Minister in his article as a Sonali Adhyay, a new chapter, a golden chapter, a new push to Bangladesh-India relations. Because this visit was full of very significant symbolism, but also very great substance. So this combination of symbolism and substance has lent a great deal of importance to the visit. As you said, it is indeed the celebratory mode which caused the visit to take place when it did, because 26th of March was the 50th anniversary of the independence of Bangladesh, the victory of Bangladesh in the Liberation War. And together with that, the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh-India relations and the birth centenary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The significance is that 50 years ago, Bangladesh and India were together, shoulder to shoulder, fighting the genocidal attack from Pakistan, in which 3 million people died, 200,000 women were raped. Terrible, absolutely. One of the worst such genocidal attacks anywhere in the world. And 50 years later, by side together, continuing to be friends and partners, participating now in the economic development of Bangladesh and India, growing together, sharing values, and bringing our individual strengths to develop the region, the sub-region, and the region, and the whole of Asia. So I think this was a great deal of symbolism. And you saw that when Prime Minister was the guest of honor at the 50th anniversary celebrations, the National Day of Bangladesh on 26th March, the speech made by our Prime Minister, the speech made by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, they were full of emotion, full of very genuine feeling. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina mentioning in such strong and warm words about her affection for India, how India has helped Bangladesh at every turn, how she lived in India after her father had been assassinated and there was a military dictatorship in Bangladesh after that. And our Prime Minister mentioning his own involvement with the move for Bangladesh liberation together with other members like former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee of the Jansangh at that time. So, this was really a very significant moment for the people of Bangladesh to hear this and to feel this warmth of friendship between the two leaders. But the second day, on the 27th of March, when the Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh had their substantive meeting, had their delegation-level discussions, and signed all the documents, that is when we also saw that in addition to the symbolism, there has been really great movement ahead on the substance of the relationship between India and Bangladesh. And I think that the important point about this movement ahead is that it is taking place all along. It is not only when visit takes place like my Prime Minister's visit, but a week or 10 days before this visit, there was the Friendship Bridge, the Maitri Setu, inaugurated virtually by the two Prime Ministers. And in December 2020, there was a virtual summit between the two Prime Ministers where they had again issued a joint statement with very substantive progress on connectivity projects and trade and so on. So obviously, the relationship between Bangladesh and India is developing according to a very strong plan agreed by both countries, and it is being accompanied by constant review, monitoring, implementation of the projects, and this has been a great matter of strength. If we look at the various documents signed, I would say that the MOU on the establishment of a framework of trade, of cooperation in the area of trade between India and Bangladesh is very substantive, because it not only will mean that both countries are going to constantly review the area of trade. Bangladesh wants to increase their exports to India, and India is willing to help them in every way through whatever problems there may be, non-tariff barriers, para-tariff barriers, and both countries are moving ahead to sign a CEPA, a Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, and talks on that have been held and the model is being discussed and so on. So this was really very important. And the cooperation between Bangladesh and India, as seen through the agreements not only signed yesterday but also the earlier discussions that have been taking place, is now encompassing all fields of cooperation. It's like what our foreign minister called a 360-degree partnership. Every sector is covered. And you see young entrepreneurs being involved. 50 startup entrepreneurs from Bangladesh will come to India. You see the 1,000 scholarships, additional scholarships being given to Bangladesh students, the Golden Jubilee scholarships they are called. This is new and will mean much more people-to-people interaction when Bangladesh students come to India.
Ambassador Sikri, Prime Minister in Bangladesh also handed over a symbolic key to his counterpart for 109 ambulances, which are a gift by India, and also talk a little about the vaccine Maitri. India has donated around 1.2 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines as a grant to Dhaka, and that we have seen that this vaccine Maitri has been extended to almost all nations in the neighborhood, Bangladesh being one of the recipients. How do you see this vaccine Maitri then playing out in the neighborhood first policy and also among when you come to the India-Bangladesh relationship?
The health sector of cooperation, which is indeed comparatively new in the cooperation between India and Bangladesh, but very, very significant because the COVID pandemic has shown to South Asia and to the rest of the world that health emergencies are just around the corner at all times. They can occur at any time and countries need to be prepared. And our Prime Minister, immediately after the pandemic hit South Asia, our Prime Minister had convened a virtual summit of the South Asian countries and declared the importance of South Asian countries cooperating in this. And among the countries of cooperation in South Asia, the cooperation between Bangladesh and India in overcoming the pandemic has been among the largest. And we saw right from the beginning, whether it is PPEs or masks or medicines or training of doctors, this happened on a regular basis between India and Bangladesh over the last 1 year. And now when the vaccine has come on the scene, and it is very, very important at this time, then Bangladesh has received one of the largest grants or gifts of vaccines from India. Originally 2 million doses were given as gifts. Now yesterday another 1.2 million doses have been given as gifts. In addition, Bangladesh has made arrangements with the help of India to secure commercial supplies from the Indian manufacturer Serum Institute of India. So all this is going to contribute greatly to the Bangladesh's efforts to overcome the pandemic, and this has been very significant. In every way, I think the multi-sectoral cooperation between Bangladesh and India has shown that indeed the Bangladesh-India relationship is a model, the example that all of South Asia can follow. And in fact, our Prime Minister mentioned that the friendship with Bangladesh, the cooperation with Bangladesh is a key pillar of India's neighborhood first foreign policy. And indeed, this has been illustrated in every way because all the sectors have been covered. The 109 ambulances are very much a part of the health sector cooperation. And I would say that if you look beyond the neighborhood first policy, Bangladesh has acquired importance, as we can see through the talks between our Prime Ministers and as mentioned in the joint statement, even in our Act East policy, in India's Act East policy, the cooperation with Bangladesh is very significant because we are looking at Bangladesh holding a very special position as a bridge country between South Asia and Southeast Asia. And all these connectivity and infrastructure projects that are being developed over the last many months, in fact, these last few years have seen a great progress in the development of the infrastructure projects. And through this, we can see that the access of India and Bangladesh to Northeast India and through Northeast India to the rest of Southeast Asia is now a great reality. And Bangladesh has requested to join the India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway, and through that they will have access to the Southeast Asian countries. So Bangladesh is very interested. Also, we see from October this year, Bangladesh is going to be the chairperson of the IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association, and they have requested to work with India in this area. So we see that in the maritime area also the cooperation is very significant.
Ambassador Sikri, the issue of the Teesta water agreement, which continues to be talked about, but it's an agreement which is still not reached. We also saw that in the meeting between the two prime ministers, the Teesta water agreement issue was raised. Another issue that has come up is the issue related to the Rohingyas. And India has said that it would be happy to facilitate a safe, speedy and sustainable return of the forcibly displaced people from Myanmar. How do you see, one, the Teesta agreement, which talks have been going on for a long time, but we really haven't seen an agreement, and the Rohingya issues, how does this play in the bilateral relationship?
The Teesta river water sharing agreement is very important because between any two countries, for any country individually, water availability is crucial, and Bangladesh has been having a great concern that the Teesta river, which has a very long dry period of about 7 months, and during these months a very small, only 10% of the total supply of water is available. So this is something that is of great concern to them. Now it is known that way back in 2011, India and Bangladesh had agreed to a document on river water sharing of the Teesta River. But because of the internal politics of India, the position of one state government, this could not actually take place. And India has always shown the greatest importance to concluding this agreement. In fact, the Prime Minister on 26th, when he met a lot of the groups in Bangladesh, he met the alliance partners of Awami League, he met the opposition parties, he met young entrepreneurs. Each of them asked him about Teesta. And each time he gave his own assurance that I am doing my best to get this Teesta River agreement concluded as soon as possible. And it's mentioned in the document as well, the importance of the Teesta River and the need to conclude it as soon as possible. Water resources is certainly one of the most important and sensitive areas between India and Bangladesh, but both our Prime Ministers have shown the keen importance they attach to it, and I do hope that very soon there will be a progress. Certainly, as far as the Rohingyas is concerned, the forcibly displaced persons from Myanmar, the Bangladesh government is very concerned about it because they have given shelter to these people. More than 1 million displaced persons from Myanmar are now living in the camps in Bangladesh in the Chittagong Hill Tracts region. And Bangladesh is very keen to see an early solution to the problem. And this year, as you know, India is a non-permanent member of the Security Council, and Bangladesh has requested India to play an active role in making sure that this problem is solved. And we certainly would like to see this problem solved. Government of India, Prime Minister Modi and other leaders have assured Bangladesh that we are very serious about this. We are, in fact, that is one of the reasons that we keep in touch with all shades of opinion in Myanmar to see at what stage and how we can find a way out so that the agreed persons, the persons who have the requisite papers and other conditions demanded by the Myanmar government, at least we can begin with those and send them back to Myanmar, and then gradually all the other people can also go back. So this is certainly, it has been flagged in the joint statement and it is there as an important issue, and I'm sure that India and Bangladesh will remain in constant touch on this.
Mr. Sikri, we also see that on security cooperation, recognizing terrorism has remained one of the main points on agenda, and the Prime Minister also expressed India's appreciation for the cooperation extended by Bangladesh on security issues. And we have seen that under Sheikh Hasina, the anti-India elements have not really been able to operate from Bangladesh. How important is this cooperation between the two nations, and also the recognition somewhere that India faces cross-border terrorism from Pakistan, and how this ties into the fact that India has been pressing globally for the recognition that it has been a victim of cross-border terrorism? How does this tie in the equation then?
The cooperation between India and Bangladesh on counterterrorism is one of the significant success stories of the bilateral relationship, and certainly the role of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in readily agreeing that she is not going to support any foreign terrorists on her soil, and she's going to make sure that no anti-Indian action takes place from the soil of Bangladesh. She has given this assurance and she has kept up to the assurance. And right in the beginning, when she came back to power in 2009 for her second term as Prime Minister, and she's now in her fourth term as Prime Minister, at that time she had immediately taken action and completely finished off the support which was being given by the earlier BNP government to the Ulfa and other Northeast Indian insurgent groups who were taking shelter in Bangladesh. And Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina even handed back some of the senior members of these groups who were living in Bangladesh. So she has shown great seriousness, and she's very clear that she's doing it because she thinks that it does not benefit Bangladesh in any way. There is no interest in Bangladesh keeping foreign terrorists on their soil, and it only harms the security interests of Bangladesh. And she says that the people of Bangladesh don't want it either, and this is true. So I think that this support from Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been very valuable. And beyond that, now you see the security agencies of India and Bangladesh, they are constantly cooperating, they're constantly exchanging news and information and updating their data sheets and making sure that, this cross-border effort, whether Pakistan does it through Bangladesh, and, they were doing it earlier through Bangladesh very regularly, and now that it should not continue at all, but Pakistan keeps on trying to do it like that. So the cooperation between India and Bangladesh security agencies is very vital in this area, and our cooperation is ensuring the great friendship and support between the two governments is ensuring that this counterterrorism cooperation remains very high on the agenda and is continuing very actively.
And in the coming days, we will continue our discussions on the India-Bangladesh relationship and on the Prime Minister's very successful visit to Dhaka. With this, we bring today's discussion to an end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press.
The Washington Post reports that faced with sanctions and condemnation from the West, China becomes bedfellows with Russia. The Guardian reports that as many as 60 people are unaccounted for following a deadly ambush on their convoy by Islamist militants in northern Mozambique. It also carried a report that a French court has fined one of the country's biggest pharmaceutical firms 2.7 million euros after finding it guilty of deception and manslaughter over a pill linked to the deaths of up to 2,000 people. The Sydney Morning Herald writes that Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison prepares policy parade to win back women after he used a cabinet reshuffle to give female ministers a bigger say in his government. South China Morning Post writes that US, Japan and Indonesia ramp up pressure on Beijing in the South China Sea. And Khalij Times reports Kuwait received 8 tons of documents and other items taken during the 1990 Iraq invasion led by Saddam Hussein. Vaibhav Shrivastava for AIR World News.
India is celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav to commemorate 75 years of independence. The revolt of 1857 was a turning point in the freedom chronicles of India. 164 years ago on this day, Mangal Pandey's defiance and courage provided the spark which ignited the fire of revolt that shook the British East India Company. Remembering Sepoy Mangal Pandey.
A turning point and a new beginning in India's freedom struggle was the revolt of 1857, and the man who is considered to have sparked that fire is Mangal Pandey. Hailing from Balia, Mangal Pandey was a sepoy of the 34th Bengal Native Infantry stationed at Barrackpore near Calcutta, now Kolkata. Amid growing discontent against the British on 29th March 1857, Pandey broke into open mutiny and called upon his compatriots to oppose the use of greased cartridges. The sergeant major ordered his arrest, but the Indian soldiers refused to carry out the order. At this point, Pandey hit the sergeant major and wounded him and a lieutenant. He was court-martialed and then hanged at Barrackpore on the 8th of April 1857. Mangal Pandey was the first martyr of the revolt of 1857. His story of defiance and bravery sparked off the Great Revolt.
Holi, the festival of colors, is being celebrated across India. The festival is celebrated in the month of March, which not only brings cheer to the people but also brings new lease of life to plants and animals. Holi marks the onset of spring. Holi begins with Holika Dahan, a day prior to Holi. Like any other Hindu festival, Holi also marks the victory of good over evil. Holi gives the message of equality and fraternity as all the sections of society, irrespective of caste, creed, color, age and sex, celebrated with great enthusiasm. Holi ke din dil khil jaate hain, rangon mein rang mil jaate hain. Holi ke din dil khil jaate. A quick look at the headlines once again. External Affairs Minister of India Dr. S. Jaishankar reaches Dushanbe to attend Heart of Asia conference on Tuesday. Zimbabwe, Niger and Fiji receive Made in India COVID-19 vaccines under Vaccine Maitri initiative. India and US conduct naval exercise Parsecs in Bay of Bengal. Traffic in Suez Canal resumes after stranded ship Ever Given refloated. UN Secretary General urges for decisive action to stave off debt crisis in developing world. And the festival of colour, Holi, celebrated across India with fervour and gaiety. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favourite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Nepal.
Free
with that, we end this bulletin. See you at same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.